Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. This video, I'm going to cover three topics. The first one is answering a question from Cameron, which is a great name because that's my son's name, named after my closest friend when he was born, which probably should have been the girl I was with, but that probably explains why the marriage didn't work out. And then I'm going to cover a buying opportunity. And at the end, I'm going to talk about BPCON 2025. And for me, some super exciting news. And for you, maybe a little way to save some money. So here's the question from Cameron, covered with why so much cash flow? Now you see why I'm not an artist. Cameron sent a question, and a lot of times I'll just do a text response, but sometimes there's kind of nuance to it that wouldn't fit in text, so I make a video. You can email me at diontalk.com, dion@diontalk.com, Dion, and I'll answer your questions, and sometimes I will make a video about it. Cameron says, I heard in a recent video your current cash flow is $20,000 per month. Is that due to rapid debt paydown in your portfolio? On average, how often do you approach your tenant with the binder strategy? Is it annually, biannually, depending on their lease? So start with the first part. I heard in a recent video that your cash flow is about 20,000. Is that due to rapid debt paydown? This is why I didn't want to just do a typed answer. I wanted to actually come here and speak to Cameron and anybody else who has a similar thought. Why so much cash flow, right? And cash flow is not impressive unless you go compared to what? From Jason Hartman, of course, credit where it's due. I have a relatively, in my opinion, small portfolio. I started investing at 40 and retired at 52. When I retired, I had 16 properties or 16 rentals. I have 18 now, so I've added one since retiring. It's on 8 properties. So it's only 8 properties. And here's the math breakdown, just for those people who like to go, well, that's not cash flow. I'll argue net worth also. About a little over 35,000 a month in gross rents coming in, about 9,000 a month in mortgages going out. I set aside $5,150, which is a cop joke, close to 15% a month for future repairs. That's about, 60,000 a year. And my worst year, I think so far was like 36 grand. So I'm setting aside for future expenses. Because of levered depreciation, I'm still not paying taxes on rental income. And that leaves about $21,000 a month that I'm learning how to spend in retirement. And I usually spend somewhere around 4. And so I've made reverse budgets where I require that I spend more money eating out, drive a nicer vehicle, travel. So learning how to spend the money is fun. But to answer Cameron's question, it is absolutely not due to debt pay down. Debt pay down is would really hurt my cash flow. It would have added 9 more years to me working to even come close to the same cash flow. I paid off one property and it cost me $1 million in growth. And while I'm making, so it's rented to Section 8, and I probably profit a little over 2,000 a month on it. The money that I used to pay it down could have been used to buy a fourplex. And I have a fourplex that I purchased at the same time with less money spent or invested than I used to pay down the debt. And that place cash flows almost 5,000 a month. Cash flow is after all expenses and after setting aside for future repairs and maintenance. So I could be making 5,000 a month instead of paying off the one property. We make decisions based on the information we have at the time. And when I did that, you were allowed 4 conventional mortgages in your name. I didn't know about DSCR loans, asset-based lending, portfolio loans. I hadn't educated myself. I just thought, well, I have 4. If I pay one off, I'll have another slot open. And lost $1 million in significant amount of cash flow. I don't regret paying off a property. Like I said, we make decisions based on the information that we had at the time. But why is the cash flow so much on such a small portfolio? Well, there's 2 main reasons. The first one is I am friends with Matt, the lumberjack landlord, who is an operator and optimizes and stabilizes his portfolio in a way that I've borrowed several things from, such as I have the highest insurance deductible possible. Right? If they'll let me go 50 grand, I would do 50 grand. Most of them will have allowed 10 grand. I think I have one at 20, most 1 or 2 at 5. Whatever their insurance deductible will let me go to, because I'm never The less a person makes declarative statements, the less apt they are to look foolish in retrospect. I never want to use insurance unless it's a complete burn down or somebody got injured into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, because your interest premiums can triple, and for 5 years, nobody else will insure you. So I'm not putting that at risk. So I keep good reserves. High deductibles keeps my premiums low. I've done things like value add, buy duplexes where it's a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, or 1.5 bath each side with a den on each side. Well, a den is a bedroom that just hasn't been made yet. And I've added that. So that's the first thing is what can you do to lower your expenses while increasing your income? And that is, high deductibles, shopping around for quotes on maintenance, never just going with the first contractor that sounds good. Even when I find a good contractor, I get multiple quotes. I negotiate my interest rates down with my lenders. I've got videos on how I get the best interest rates. I use the binder strategy to increase the rental income at properties while keeping happy tenants, so keeping tenant turnover low. And the second thing is paying down the debt would have been a mistake. Paying down more of the debt would have cost me more money, would have cost me cash flow. I would have less cash flow. So touching the debt, don't do it. Steal from the emperor's new groove. When it comes to your debt, no touchy. Let the tenant pay it off, right? The flip side to that coin, and the main reason why I get so much cash flow, main reason, top few. One is I'm in a high cost of living area, right? If you buy 8 properties in Gary, Indiana, and buy them all cash and have no mortgages, I don't know that 8 properties would get you $21,000 in pure cash flow. It's possible if they were fourplexes, right? It's doable, but I don't have all fourplexes. I have a single family, duplexes, one triplex, one fourplex to get the cash flow that I have in a high cost of living area. And listen very carefully. The Emperor's New Groove. Be Cusco. When it comes to this thing that I want to redefine, people call it equity. You don't have equity. You don't have your money locked in a property. You don't have money from growth or money from pay down. What you have is the ability to add debt to an existing asset. So I've never taken out a home equity line of credit. I've never done a cash out refinance. I've never sold for 1031. I save a down payment, buy a property, hold it long term. If I touched the equity, I hate that word, I would have more units and significantly thinner margins and less cash flow for a while. Now the 20, 25, 30-year plan, exponential growth, yeah, I'd be a decamillionaire. But my goal wasn't a big portfolio or the most cash flow. My goal was the right amount of cash flow from the least amount of units. And I had a 10-year plan. So I wanted financial freedom in 10 years. That came from save a down payment, buy a property, save a down payment, buy a property, optimize the portfolio, surround myself with people like Zuber and Millennial Mike and Lumberjack and learn from them and make my portfolio operate better, run better to increase the cash flow. I don't want a bigger portfolio. I might not even want the size I have. At some point, because I want the right amount of cash flow, not the most amount of cash flow, I might sell a property, not 1031, pay the taxes, pay off debt, and increase my cash flow. Right? It's really hard to make a decision when both outcomes are positive. So that's the first part. It's not from debt pay down. It's a great question, Cameron, and it was very nuanced. You see, it took 8 minutes or so for me to get that across. The second thing is, on average, how often do you approach your tenants with the binder strategy? Is it annually or biannually, and depending on their lease? So it is always depending on their lease. You are held to a lease when you buy a property of the previous landlord and the tenants. So the first time I use the binder strategy, I acquire a property. I wait a couple of months because I like to buy properties that have tenants in place. I don't want to do the binder right away because I didn't get to vet those tenants. And another credit score, their work history, if they're going to pay on time, if I'm going to get stupid, trivial questions, if I'm going to get noise complaints, right? But about 2 months in, I know pretty much, luckily so far, I've wanted to keep the tenants that I've had. But if I ran across one, which I did, and so when I owner occupied, they were the ones to go. Did cash for keys there. 2 months in or so, once I've vetted the tenants, and I've had time to improve the property, coated locks, motion sensor LEDs, fix things from the inspection report, show the tenants I'm going to take care of the place. I'm not the tired old landlord that they were stuck with and That's probably why they sold the property. And so now the tenants know I'm going to take care of it. It's 2 months in. I know I want to keep them. Binder strategy goes much better because they are aware I'm going to take care of the place. Then I generally would never use the binder strategy again. After that point, I would go 5% increase every other year. And for 8 years or so, that worked. But you have to watch out for black swan events, things you're not anticipating that can greatly increase your income or increase your expenses. So in 2020, we had a pandemic, an eviction moratorium, a rent freeze, people went into forbearance. The world was a little cattywampus, technical term. So in 2021, when the rent freeze was over and the risk to landlords went up because people found out there could be a time where you don't have to pay your rent and nobody can evict you. Rents went up about 30 to 40% in a lot of markets. So I did the binder strategy and all my tenants got an average increase of about 28%. Tenants asked for the rent to go up 28%. Still getting a better deal than what area rents went to. So black swan event, use the binder. Then it was going to go 5% every other year indefinitely. And last year, the tards in our capital said, why don't we really harm the tenants and put a rent control bill on the table, which makes landlords stupid rich and more tenants homeless. So because it was even threatened, just talked about, I binder strategied all my tenants again. Got a massive increase, $3,300 a month in rent increase profit because they talked about rent control. So it is once after acquiring the property, then plan to not ever do it again unless there's a black swan event. Then I have it in my back pocket. The reason I had to do it with rent control is if rent control goes through, I can't do large rent increases to fix something like a pandemic or the other bill that came out in our state, which is an amazing state of stupidity, Washington, where there is no R. They would have tripled property taxes from 1% to 3%. What do you think that's going to do to landlords? Yeah, they're going to push up the rent, but if you put a rent cap on it, then they're just going to be forced into becoming slumlords where they don't have the money to take care of the properties. So they're not stupid. This is where tenants become homeless. They're going to go, oh, you have 90 days to get out. I'm going to rehab the unit. You have 90 days to get out. I'm going to move in. You have 90 days to get out. I'm going to sell the property. And now you're into a high rent inflation market without a place to live. So that's when I do the binder strategy. And the second two topics I was going to cover in this video, this is a short video where I'm going to look at the comments. I will answer every question that comes in the future. And if you want your questions answered during a live stream every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, I do a live stream that lasts as long as the questions do. The buying opportunity. I tend to not try to be too political. I hate both sides equally, and I can say one sentence that pisses off both sides. I'm not going to say it in this video. It's not my goal to make anybody mad. Currently, do like to stir some hate and discontent. That's the Marine in me. But there is a buying opportunity right now with a specific stock. I'm not even going to name it because I'm not a stock investor. I have joined the dark side and bought my first stupid stock. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I see an incredible buying opportunity where there is a stock that has dropped 70% in value because of something that is temporary, because of things that are happening that will be deemed criminal. And once people realized what they're doing will hit social media, will get them a prison sentence. It's my opinion, which is probably wrong, so you shouldn't listen to me, that this stock is going to recover. And if it recovers, I'm now dollar cost averaging $1,000 a day. I'm going for however many days, as long as this stock stays close to 70% discount from where I believe it's going to go. And I do have a cap, right? I'm not stupid. I'm not going to do 1% more than my net worth into any asset class outside of the one that I've mastered. So if you're worth $10,000 as your net worth, you would invest 1% of that. I have no idea what that is. $100? Math is not what I do. We have proven that sixth grade math is what you need to run real estate. So in the description below, there is a link to Robinhood. I'm using that as the platform that I chose. If you use that link to join, you get a free stock and I get a free stock. They say valued between $5 and $1,500. I guarantee it's going to be $5. I can't guarantee that because I don't know the platform. But I am dollar cost averaging into this stock as long as it stays below a certain amount. It's 70% off of where it was. I think I'm going to keep dollar cost averaging until it hits 50%. So if I hit my limit of 1%, which is if I lost every single penny, I'm not going to care. It's how Michael Zuber looked at crypto from one rental at a time. He looks at crypto that way. Put 1% in there. His 1% is a lot bigger than my 1%, which is totally great. Super happy for him. I'm going to dollar cost average and continuously until I hit 1% or until it gets back up to about 50% of its value. Don't know what I'll do with the stocks in the future, and I don't know if I'll have stocks. I might take it all off the table after it goes back to where I think it's going to go to. It could drop to zero. Never trust, from Jaspreet Singh, a random guy on YouTube when it comes to investing. But you can use that link, get you a free stock, give me a free stock. And when you get your free stock, it actually gives you a list of stocks that you get to choose which one you're going to get it in. I'm actually getting the free stock in the one that I'm buying and dollar cost averaging into. And yeah, I'm not going to say which one it is because I think everybody that watches this channel has a brain, and it took you about 4 seconds to know what I was talking about. So that's the buying opportunity. Now, the thing I'll wrap up with, remember, not a stock guy. I don't know what I'm doing. Just know that in my mind, I see a buying opportunity and I'm doing less than 1% into this. If you're a stock person, let me know in the comments, how much did you put into a stock that had a 70% haircut? BPCON 2025. I'm well, these are words that I don't know how to pronunciate. I'm shocked, humbled, like I can't believe I was in the running to be a keynote speaker for BPCON. So imagine my reacting emotions to being selected for a keynote speaker position at BPCON. So if you're going, they have a thing that they call LobbyCon. So if you're going to be in Vegas October 5th through 7th and you're not going to BPCON, there's going to be a LobbyCon. um, I see the financial firefighter is messaging me. Does that mean I have no sound? Oh, he's seeing Dividend Dave. Nice. And doesn't know I'm in the middle of a live. I will have to check that out. Uh, um, it's live. This is what you get. I'm not a YouTube guy. I don't even know how to do that. Um, if you use the code Dion50, you get a discount off of BPCon tickets. Right now they have early bird specials, which is a discount. You get the discount on top of that. So if you're going to BPCon, hope to see you there. I get to present the first day on 2 panels and keynote on the last day. I'm super excited about that. I have said this many times, like I found one rental at a time in 2018. Wish I'd found Zuber, a decade sooner. But I found BiggerPockets 2012-ish, after a year of losing money as a landlord, realizing I was the problem and wasn't educated and I was making all these small mistakes. And when I found it with a B, it was blogs. It wasn't even vlogs yet. They didn't even have, they probably had YouTube stuff. I didn't find it. I found their website, found write-ups, found house hacking, small multifamily, how to find a lease, how to screen tenants, like all the real basic stuff. That's where I found it. And so I really attribute the people who've presented at BiggerPockets, the people who put it together, with me getting on the path to financial freedom, communities like One Rental at a Time keeping me on the path, and actually being the motivating factor to me pulling the plug and retiring in 2022. So super excited to get to go and present for that. I will look at all the comments after the video. If you want your questions answered during a live stream, I will see you on Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific. Have a week full of amazing.